Hello, Accelerated Math 7-8 students. Today we are starting our 7th video, I think it is. Yes, our 7th video. I forgot to write it in my table of contents, so I need to do that. What it's called is Properties of Inequalities. Properties of Inequalities. So I need to write that down. Properties Inequalities. Okay, and this is actually the 17th video, but it is our 6th lesson of our new module, and you can find it on page 40. Sorry, I thought I had that written down, but I didn't. Okay, so Properties of Inequalities on page 40. So I'm going to turn there now, and let's take a look at what we're doing. So, Properties of Inequalities. Our goal. Today we will learn how to understand the properties of inequalities. The question that I want you to be thinking about is, what do the lines under the less than and the greater than signs mean? So as a quick review, hopefully you guys are remembering all of this. Check this out. This symbol right here stands for less than. This symbol right here stands for greater than. This symbol right here stands for equal to. These three symbols compare expressions. So you have less than with a line written under it. The way we read it is less than or equal to. Greater than sign with a line underneath it means greater than or equal to. These two symbols determine the value of the expression. So basically what we're saying is, up here you would say 2 is less than 5. But on some scenarios where you're having to figure out the answer and there could be more than one answer, you could say, okay, I have some money in my hand. It's in between 4 cents and 98 cents. Then you could say, well, the money in Mrs. Nelson's hand is less than 98 cents, but greater than 4 cents. So we would use those lines under that to help figure out what those would be. All right, so we're going to try some of these really quick. And very quickly, this is a review, so hopefully it will go fast. So if x equals -3, your job is to determine which one of these symbols up here fits on that line. Again, so if x equals -3, so a -3 is sitting right here. So we have, you would write, -3 is what to 5? And we would write less than. Do you understand the process? Okay, so you're going to do all of those on your own and see if you can figure them out. Okay, so then the next thing that I want you to take a look at is something else to notice about properties of equalities. If x equals 5, let's look right here. Notice what has changed. We're not adding them anymore or subtracting them or just substituting. We're actually multiplying them. So look at what is actually going to happen. If we have 3 times x, and then a blank equals 4, and x equals 5, what is actually happening here? This is actually going to be 15. So 15 is what then 4? 15 is greater than 4. Okay, so now let's try this one. You have 12 is 2 times x, and x happens to be 10, right? So 12 is greater than 10. Does everybody see that? Okay, now that's not the part that I want you to notice. What I want you to notice is what happens if x is now a -5. Okay, so we have the exact same problems. So 3 times x is blank to 4. This time x is a -5. So now we get -15 to 4. And what is -15 to 4? It is less than. Okay, now let's try it over here. We have 12 is 2 times x, and 2 times x this time is -10. So 12 is greater than -10. Okay, so boys and girls, do you see what happens? All right, and the interesting thing about this is we're going to learn what this is called when you have the value of the variable being different, because this is a +5 and this is a -5. And notice what it does to the expressions just by changing the sign of the value that you multiply it by. What was different about these two situations? One came out greater than, the other one came out less than. So kind of an interesting idea. So rules for inequalities that I need you to be aware of. Rules for inequalities. When a number is added or subtracted to both numbers, the symbol stays the same. So up here it stayed the same, okay? The symbol then, or the inequality, is then called preserved. So if the symbol, the greater than and less than sign, doesn't change. So for example, they won't change over here, but you will notice that when there's a positive or a negative, that sometimes it will cause it to change over here, okay? So the symbol stays the same, the inequality is preserved. When a negative number is multiplied or divided by both numbers, the symbol changes and the inequality is reversed, okay? So these two rules right here are really important to you understanding what we're going to be doing in class tomorrow. I'll say them again. When a number is added or subtracted to both numbers, the symbol stays the same and the inequality is preserved. When a negative number is multiplied or divided by both numbers, the symbol changes and the inequality is reversed. So I want to give you an example of this because I think this is kind of a little bit fuzzy. So let's say that I had 2 is something to 5. So we know that 2 is less than 5. But what happens if I add 3 to both sides? So if I add 3 to this, it now becomes 5. If I add 3 to this, it now becomes 8. What do you notice about the sign? The sign still remains as a less than sign. Now, if I subtracted them, okay, so we're going back to the original one, 2 to 5. If I subtract 4 from both sides, so 2 minus 4 is a negative 2, and then 5 minus 4 is a 1. I'm still using a less than. Now let's see what happens when we multiply it. So 2 is to 5. If I multiply 2 by 4 and 5 by 4, I get 8 and I get 20, and my sign is still the same, so it's still preserved. Now watch what happens if it's a negative, however. So I have 2 to 5. Let's multiply it by a negative 4. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. What is negative 4 times 2? Negative 8. What is 5 times a negative 4? Negative 20. What happened to our sign? Is negative 8 less than or greater than negative 20? Don't get tricked. It's actually greater than because it's closer to 0. So what did you notice? We added the same amount to both sides, stayed the same. We subtracted the same amount from both sides, stayed the same. We multiplied it by a positive integer, stayed the same. The minute that we multiply it by a negative integer, what happens to the sign? The sign has to change, and it's called reversed because this is less than, less than, less than, less than. It reverses on this one, and it goes to greater than. So maybe that helps clarify the rules a little bit. When a number is added or subtracted to both numbers, the symbol stays the same and the inequality is preserved. When a negative number is multiplied or divided by both numbers, the symbol changes and the inequality is reversed. Okay? And I'm hoping these little examples right here helped clarify that. We're going to work a lot with it in class tomorrow. So I don't want you to get too stressed out about it. And I'll do a couple of practice problems on the board for you to try when you get into class. This little bit more is a little bit about what we were talking about before. One more thing, use less than or equal to or greater than or equal to during comparisons that have more than one answer. For example, the money in my pocket is more than 1 but less than 10. So here's the money in my pocket. It is more than 1, which 1 is less than or equal to X. But it's less than 10, so 10 is greater than or equal to what I have in my pocket. So that's how we would write that, using the greater than and less than or equal to symbols. Okay? We'll work with this some more too. It's very cut and dry and very fun to do. You just have to focus and pay attention to what it's asking you. What do the lines under the less than and greater than signs mean? Hopefully you can figure that out. If not, then when we get to the graphing, you'll be able to really understand it. So that's it. I'll make you a couple of problems to work on. We will check these, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good night. Bye.